when I didn't have soccer, I had football every other day, so I was busy the whole week.
I did Taekwondo Mondays and Wednesdays.
When it wasn't summer, I'd play with my friends and also did all the other stuff.
During the summer, there were a lot of just soccer things spread throughout the summer that I did. And I also had a basketball camp that I went to, and I was supposed to go to a volleyball camp.
Okay. All right, last one.
A travel basketball team, and I also am involved in 4-H, all that other stuff.
All right, we know these kids are busy. Soccer is one of the things they really enjoy, but they got a lot on their plate, and that's awesome. That's what we like to see. So let's talk a little bit. We'll do the last one here, and then we'll let you guys get out of here. We appreciate you getting up early with us on a Saturday morning. Talk a little bit about kind of what a practice looks like. You said your idea is to help them for the high school level. What are some things in soccer that, at this age that kids really need to work on? What do you focus on skill-wise? How much, do you do a lot of scrimmaging? What is what would a typical practice look like for a group this age for you guys with your team?
Yeah, so the number one thing that most kids lack is just ball control. It's unusual. Most of the time you touch things with your hands. Yeah. It's unusual to touch things with your feet. So that takes a lot of learning. The more we can have these kids touch balls with their feet, the better their skills will improve. So a lot of our focus is dribbling skills, possession skills, and then of course I also touch quite a bit on tactical, where to move, how to distribute the ball so that you can go around defensive players, as well as how you play defensively too.
And one more. I lied. I said I had, but I have one more. Where are some of the? If someone wanted to come and watch these guys play, what are some of the? There's some more local. I know. Do we have a tournament in Sigourney? Do we have any tournament here in town, or even somewhere local where maybe they could come out and watch and support these teams here sometime, either this fall or maybe next spring?
Yeah. So we played through the Oskaloosa Soccer League. Okay. And games are posted on the league calendar. Right now, the games have not been published yet. Yep. The schedule, rather. That's supposed to happen this week, at the latest, early next week. So we're looking forward to that. But if you want to come watch us practice, we are at the softball field. Which one? There's so many of them.
The one out.
The one out there. It's near the high school.
The high school fields. Okay.
It's near the high school. It's down in.
Okay.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to come.
And where are the games in Oskaloosa when you play? Where do they play in Oski?
Right. The games we will play in Oskaloosa, but we will also play in all these cities that I mentioned to you earlier.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So we travel to those cities and play them.
That makes sense.
Our hope is that someday in the future we'll have our own soccer complex. Yep. That we can host, other teams coming and playing here. But we usually play away. Okay. All our games are away because we don't have a location we can host. Yeah. If we wanted to host, we need several acres of field because. Yeah. All these teams that will be. No, I'm thankful for the community. We appreciate those kids. Definitely want to make sure we improve their skills and make them good soccer players. So, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Very informative, very fun. Great group of kids you got here with us here this morning, too. So we appreciate having them. So it's Venom Soccer this morning. And then after Steve, we'll let you talk a little bit about, we got Big Athlete of the Year going on. So we'll talk about that. And then we'll get Sydney and Sierra in here. We'll talk a little Sigourney volleyball to wrap up our morning here on the sports section.
All righty, so thanks to the Venom Soccer Club for joining us this morning here on Steve Shetler Media. As you're looking at right now on the screen, our Athlete of the Year tournament just wrapped up yesterday, brought to us by Keokuk County Hospital and Clinics and by Kelly Style State Farm. And Addison Adam of Cardinal Track in Eldon is our first ever Steve Shuttler Media Athlete of the Year winner, and Addison was very excited to win. We're going to be presenting her, I believe, next Friday at the Pekin Cardinal game with the championship belt that she is winning. So Addison Adam got by Nat Linder from North Mahaska Track in our so both of those athletes got a ton of votes each and a ton of support throughout the tournament, as well as did all of our athletes that were involved. Let's take a look at the bracket. As you can see there, we started with 16, the top 16 vote getters from this past year, all went at it in this tournament. It came down to Nat Linder and Addison Adam. The funny thing is, Addison was the number 13 seed in the tournament, and she goes through and wins the entire thing. So the seedings really didn't mean a whole lot in this tournament. So congratulations again to Addison Adam of Cardinal Track. Our Steve Shuttler Media Athlete of the Year is brought to us by Keokuk County Hospital and Clinics and by Kelly Style State Farm. Mitch, let's go back to you as you've got your next guest lined up.
All right, we've got Sigourney Volleyball in here. I'm going to go ahead and say, without a shadow of a doubt, the best, number one sister coaching duo in the state for volleyball. We got Sydney and Sierra in here with us this morning. We're going to talk a little Sigourney Volleyball. It's here, right? I mean, it's this week. First games coming up this week. I know you're at home. What night are you home, Sierra? Thursday night we're home, and then you go to Waco on Monday. So it gets started right away. So Monday night you can head to Waco and watch. That's usually a fun tourney where you get a lot of games in. Let's go backwards first though, and Sarah, we'll start with you. Talk a little about the summer. I saw you guys in there a ton. You guys looked like you had a really good summer, a great amount of participation. Talk a little bit about kind of the summer and how important that is for you as you kind of get ready to go into this season.
Right, yeah, I stress to the girls the importance, mainly because, like, if we don't start when we do in June, we're that far behind the other teams in the state. So I just encourage everyone to get in there, make sure they're showing up to weights, and putting the work in the summer so that we're just that far ahead with everyone else.
And then typically, Sydney, there's a team camp or a tournament that you guys go to at Central. Talk a little bit about how that went. And is that something that is varsity JV? Is it just the varsity? Kind of talk a little bit about that, because that's usually a good prep for you guys before the season actually starts.
Yeah, so we head to Central. It's a 2-day camp. Basically, it's just a big tournament. There's 32 teams there. It's just varsity for us. Yes, it's nice because we see teams that we've never seen before. And then we get to play with rotations to see, what works, who plays well together. And the girls did really good this year. We got 6th out of 32 teams, so pretty good.
It's a great start. And then preseason practice, you guys have been going for 2 weeks now. Is that correct? About 2 weeks.
Yep.
Just talk a little bit about how the preseason is going. I know you had a scrimmage. Someone, did North Mahaska come this year? Okay, and just talk a little bit about that. And are we at the point in the season where the girls are ready to play games? They're tired of practicing. They're ready to go. Talk a little about kind of how this first block of preseason stuff went for the team.
Right. So yeah, I would probably say the girls are ready to be done practicing and kind of get the ball rolling with games. But I mean, we have our ups and downs at practice. I think there's times that we see a lot of kinks that we can be still worked out before we get going on games, which is good. And it's good to have that time to kind of sit back and analyze what we need to do and what we need to get better at. But I think they're ready. I think they're ready to compete. And our scrimmage went really well. We couldn't keep score because it was a scrimmage, but roughly we kind of kept track on paper, and it was very, very close. And we're 2 of the top 4 from last year. So I think it's hard to replace about 7 girls last year and kind of fill in those spots that are iffy, but we still have a few returners that are stepping up and just looking for others to fill those big spots from last year.
So overall, Sydney, how many girls are out? 9-12. How many different teams are we going to be able to field? Will we have 3 teams? I know usually that's kind of status quo for us. Last few years we've had is it a freshman team, a JV team, and then so talk a little bit about that, about how many you got and how many teams you're going to have.
Okay, so we're sitting at about 28. Is that correct? 28 girls total from freshmen to seniors. And yes, so they switched it a couple years ago. So it's no longer fresh, soft, and JV. It's JV1 and JV2. So we can kind of, it. And unfortunately, so freshmen can play JV1. So you can't differentiate the two. But yeah, so we have 3 great teams. We're putting, the best 6 on the floor, which, the girls have been working their tushies off at practice. So we're excited to see how the first game, how we come out and play.
Talk a little bit about, Sierra, about the varsity. Like you said, there was some key contributors that, were seniors, as always, but there's a lot of returning talent as well. So talk a little bit about some of the girls that you anticipate kind of being in the mix, and some of the veterans that you're leaning on here that return, that have experience.
So a big one that's coming back, I would say, is Josephine Moore on the outside. She was a key player last year, and she's going to be a key player again this year. We did lose one of our main setters, Ava Finneran, last year. So Taylor Rosenboom is back, but then we're going to have another underclassman actually step up this year, Bailey Gretter. She's doing great. We also have Kayla Renner, who's sitting right behind her. Everyone's working hard, and everyone's trying to fill those spots. We did lose Amaya Smallwood on the outside, which she was our power. But McKinley Chittick is actually kind of sliding out. She sees the floor very, very well, but we're just trying to get that power from her too, just put it down mode. And I know I'm missing a ton of people. I said to Cindy, I wasn't going to mention names because I'm going to ruin it, but our back row is basically starting over, kind of. We had a lot of seniors playing back row last year, and Hannah Hanselman has stepped up tremendously, and I hope to run her libero. Danny Aller's coming back in the back row. But yeah, Reagan, Claire Hanya, big at blocking, and she'll be a key player as well.
And it can totally change from where we're at now to the end of the season, because the girls obviously all have an opportunity to improve and step up as the year goes on. And a lot of times that's the case. So the lineup Monday at Waco could very easily be different than what you see when tournament time rolls around at the end of the year. So with volleyball, it's so unique because there are a lot of, you're kind of going through the positions. So for those people at home, you have your hitters, you have you said outside, you have middle, but then you also have, the one, if they come to a game, why is that girl wearing a different jersey? Is she did she forget hers at home? And we got one. So we've got the libero, and then do you also have just players that are defensive specialists that aren't the libero? Kind of talk a little bit about the kind of, either one you can go here and talk a little bit about the positions of volleyball and kind of how the rotations work and all that, because that is a little confusing if you just come to a game and you're like, what's going on, with all this stuff. So talk a little bit about that, and about so when people come and watch, they kind of can maybe understand a little bit more about.
Okay, so our libero, she is in the back row basically the whole time. She actually gets to rotate for 2 people instead of 1. So that white jersey floating in the back, she is rotating for 2 people. And our system that we run a 4-2. So we always have 2 setters on the floor, but we like to keep them in the back row. So we have 3 hitters in the front row at all times. The setter coming from the back row leaves us basically 2 main passers in the back row. And then hopefully 3 power hitters in the front.
And it is, you can go all the way around, and some people will, but there are a lot of substitutions, and that typically happens when you go from the front row to the back row. Is that correct? Or how do you work with the substituting?
Right. Either when they get done serving or they're about to serve is really when we throw in rotations, or if back row players go into the front row, we need to sub in our hitters.
Yeah, go ahead.
So one player that you'll see probably playing all the way around this year is Bailey Gretter, just because she is our right side hitter. She's lefty, and then she also sets in the back row. So she's playing a whole full rotation, 6 spots on the floor.
And that is important to have someone that versatile that can do both, so that, because that certainly does help if you got 2 setters on Of course. So let's talk a little bit about the conference. You mentioned a little bit about North Mahaska. Who are some of the other teams that you're kind of anticipating being up there at the top to compete with in the South Iowa Cedar League? Last year was a great year, one of the highest finishes that we've had. First time that we had been to the kind of what they call it, the gold division at the end. So who do you think will be up there with you guys this year in the conference race?
Right now, I think it's kind of a toss-up, but our conference is strong. Last year it was HLV, us, North Mahaska, Belle Plaine. I'm sure we'll see HLV there again with them combining with Tri-County. I mean, you got the best of both schools. It's probably going to be okay. In North Mahaska again, they're feisty, so I think they'll make their way back there too. But we also saw BGM at Central. They're scrappy too, so I mean, it's going to come down to who wants it more.
For sure, sounds like it'll be very competitive. So it'll be fun to come out and watch a lot of good competitive games. Let's talk a little bit about Saturday tournaments. I know that those happen from time to time. How many times do you play on Saturdays, and where do you go? And what do you like and what do you not like about Saturday tournaments? I'm sure there's pros and cons to them. So talk a little bit about that, about what you got going on the weekends, and maybe seeing some different competition.
Right away, our first tournament on the weekend is at English Valley. And do we have any others scheduled on Saturdays?
I don't believe
No,
so.
I don't know right now. Our Washington tournament got canceled because as coaches, we have a love-hate relationship with tournaments as well. It's great for the girls to develop, but they're girls. Sometimes they want to play, sometimes they don't, and a lot of the times on weekends we're struggling with homecoming dances and other weekend plans, and sometimes their head's just not there 100% of the time. So I don't prefer tournaments just because I don't think their mind is 100% in it, and sometimes that just leads to bad habits. So that's my take.
And you got, so on Monday at the Waco, that kind of is a tournament, but it's during the week. Do you like that when you can get multiple games in one day still, or you can play a bunch of teams? Because is there a limit to how many dates you can play? How many? But if you play multiple games in one day, that just counts as one. Is that correct, or is it a game limit? Do you know how that works?
I believe it's dates. Yeah.
And who are you going to see at Waco this week to get started on Monday night?
We start off with Burlington, Notre Dame, Loiza Muscatine, and Columbus Junction.
And then Cardinal on Thursday. So what are some of the other early home dates if people want to get out and support the team? What are some of the other early home, or maybe just the first one? Is it Cardinal on Thursday that we have?
Yes,
Okay,
yep.
So get out and watch the girls on Thursday against Cardinal. It's going to be warm. I think we haven't had that yet, but it looks like it's going to be hot this week. But no reason not to get out there. So just kind of each of you one more time. We'll go through real quick, and then we'll get you guys out of here. We appreciate you coming in here on a Saturday morning. So Sydney, we'll go through, just kind of talk a little bit about kind of your overall expectations, your hopes for the team this year, and kind of what you're most excited about with this particular group that you have.
Okay. Definitely, we've had some freshmen come up this year. I believe there is 7 or 8 total. I'm wrong. I'm so sorry. But and they have been working really hard. We had them in winter volleyball, and we put them against some varsity teams and we're winning in winter volleyball. So this year, both the sophomores and then some juniors, and coming up with a rotation. I'm really excited to see how they come out and really working towards, our goal of course, having a winning season.
Do you want to touch on JV at all?
Oh, yeah. And then JV, we have, of course, a couple freshmen stepping up on JV as well. We have some juniors and a couple sophomores, but definitely still trying to work on a rotation that's working for everybody yet. But again, everyone stepped up tremendously. Kayla Renner with her sets, and then also hitting right side for us this year, which is pretty new for her. Also, Clara Hanselman, she was strictly a setter her freshman year, and now as a sophomore, everyone else. I mean, I'm excited to see how things roll.
As far as varsity goes, goals for the season, I think these guys just have a lot of potential. And if they stick to it and they have a good mindset throughout this season, I think they could go really far. This group of seniors is pretty special. They're just fun to be around, and practices are great. And yeah, we're looking forward to it, but I think that I really hope that the community backs us and they show up to those games in those hot, uncomfortable gym. We understand, but it does make a difference for those athletes, and the atmosphere, it plays a huge role in how we perform as well.
And I think, really, the volleyball program, you guys have done such a great job here. A lot of excitement. I mean, Coach Holtz got 34 in the 7th and 8th grade. I mean, that's great for maybe everyone but him. He might probably have a headache trying to get 34 girls on the court. But it just, and you guys mentioned winter volleyball. You mentioned summer. It really is a year-round thing. And it sounds like there's a lot of excitement about softball. So that's softball, volleyball. So that is awfully exciting to have that kind of interest. And that's got to make you guys pretty happy to see that many kids involved at the lower levels as well.
Yes.
All right, anything else you guys want before we get you out of here?
No, I don't believe so. Thank you for having us.
You bet. Thanks for getting up with us. It is going to be Sigourney Volleyball. It starts this week. Monday, they're at Waco, and then Thursday at home against Cardinals. So get out and check them out and support the ladies, all their hard work they've done here this summer. Ready to rock and roll here this week.
All righty, thank you guys. Appreciate you coming in on a Saturday. Best of luck this season. We'll try to get you in later on this year on the sports section. You guys are free to go. We do thank Brothers Market for being our host venue. As we mentioned at the top of the show, go to shopbrothersmarket.com. Also download the Brothers Market app to save on great deals, shopping deals, digital coupons, earn rewards, deal of the week, and more at Brothers Market.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So, Mitch, we've got one last really quick segment here. We just wanted to run down. I know we had a couple of 8-man teams and games, I should say, at least a few of those here in our area that we cover on Steve Shetler Media. Montezuma beat up on HLVTC, and then looks like Calamus Wheatland beat English Valley's 46-6 last night. So a rough start for some of our area teams, but it's early, and you got to get those first game jitters out of the way.
Yeah, week 0, unfortunately, it does count for those. We had a lot of scrimmages in the area. I know you were down in Burlington watching the Pekin boys. Last night, the Sigourney boys were at Davis County. Got a good scrimmage in last night. Perfect weather to kick off week 0. There was a few other results that I saw this morning. The Waco Warriors, kind of an area-ish team, a nice win. They're ranked in the preseason poll, and there was an absolute shootout last night. Iowa Valley and BGM, 70-something to 60-something was the final score. It was a football game, not a basketball game. The Kriegel kid from Iowa Valley, 10 touchdowns last night. Wow. So that's a good season for most players, but he got it done in one game. So that was the one that caught the eye of many people. That was a showdown, a South Iowa Cedar League matchup, and Iowa Valley got a big win over BGM, and they scored a lot of points to do it. So we're excited. Football's in the air. It's not going to feel like football weather this week. It's going to summer baseball and softball weather as it gets into the 90s and hundreds this week. So hydration will be key, and Andy McGuire will have a lot of high school football to talk about on next Saturday morning's sports section.
Yeah, Mitch, of course, you've done a fantastic job again, as I mentioned earlier, being the summertime host. Hopefully you liked it enough to maybe come back next summer. So we'd love to have you back.
It's back to my real job. It's back to chasing kids around the elementary gym. So, yeah, it's been a fun summer. Enjoyed it quite a bit. And, yeah, I'll be looking forward to – we always look forward to next summer.
Sure.
So we'll be there before we know it. But, yeah, a little bit of work to do between then and now. So thanks again for having me this summer, Steve. It was fun to be a part of this.
And as you mentioned, Andy McGuire will be taking things over. He was in last week just to kind of get his feet wet as hosting duties, and then he'll be in for the fall season talking football and probably some volleyball and whatever else we can throw at him here on the sports section, again, live from Brothers Market. All right, that'll do it for this week. We thank Venom Soccer. We thank the Sigourney Volleyball girls coaches for coming in, and we'll do it again next Saturday, and we'll be talking football here on Steve Shetler Media.